How beautiful that was. Good morning. And while we gather here, let's together synchronize our breathing and take a couple of breaths together. One in and a long out. Another in and a long out. And a final one together, in and out. Good morning, friends.
Good morning. I am delighted to welcome you here to this sanctuary of imagination and hope. My name is Mike Owens. I use the pronouns he and him, and along with Leslie Rambeau, I have the delight of being your worship associate this morning. Also participating in our service today is our minister, Reverend Gail Minzy Mariner, music director Lydia Mandrick, musical guests, I'm going to make sure I get the names right here, Bill Brighton and Jan Wilhelm Janssens from the Santa Fe Brass Quintet, and two of Lydia's outstanding students, Pritika and Mujushri, which I hope I got those right. We are also grateful to our tech team of Michael Morford, John Lehman, Jim Asparo, Robert Reynolds, and Jim Kramer, who enable us to reach all of you, whether you're at home or away. To our live stream host, Charlie Batista. To our staff of Aaron Levantman, Mary Kurtz, and Douglas Kramer. To our greeters, our welcomers, our parking lot monitors, coffee makers, snack slicers, everyone else who makes this morning happen. We continue now with our opening hymn, number 1003. In your teal, I need to slow down a minute. In your teal hymnal, we're going to sing it twice through, all together. We're not going to try it as a round. Please rise as you are willing and able.
Oh, twice. Once. Please sit down. We'll do it once. We'll do it another time, some other time. Today, Mike and I and Rev Gail are visiting imagination and its offspring hope. And we're taking everyone else with us, we hope. Consider these words by the trauma psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk. Imagination is absolutely critical to the quality of our lives. Our imagination enables us to leave our routine everyday existence by fantasizing about travel, food, sex, falling in love, or having the last word. All the things that make life interesting. Imagination gives us the opportunity to envision new possibilities. It is an essential launch pad for making our hopes come true. It fires our creativity, relieves our boredom, alleviates our pain, enhances our pleasure, and enriches our most intimate relationships.
Our words to light our chalice come from Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of from time to time. It is community. Somewhere there are people to whom we speak with passion, without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate us, with us, whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. Yeah.
Who remembers Star Wars? Okay, who remembers Star Wars: The Next Generation? Who remembers LeVar Burton? Okay. I'm sorry, Star Trek. Yes, and it's Star Trek: The Next Generation. My bad. So, LeVar Burton also wrote books. And he wrote a book called, a kid's book about imagination. And I want to share it with you this morning because it fits our theme. It opens by saying, I love superheroes. What about you? The reason I love superheroes is because they have the power to change the world and make it a better place. But I've learned you don't have to be a superhero to change the world. In fact, I believe that every single human being, every person in this room, and every person outside this room has a superpower: imagination. LeVar goes on to say, I know this because I've been to the future, and I've been to the past. I lived countless lives through my many roles as an actor. I've been enslaved on a plantation in Georgia in the 1860s. I explored the galaxy in a starship with an intrepid crew. I've read stories to millions of children all over the world, all because of my imagination. My name is LeVar Burton. I'm an actor, writer, director, podcaster, and a storyteller. And I have a favorite question. It's 2 words. I ask it wherever I go. What if? Asking what if is all about possibilities. What if frogs could fly? What if homework was optional? What if I could love and accept myself exactly the way I am? When I ask what if, I engage my superpower, imagination. Because imagination is the power to dream up a world the way you'd like it to be, thinking up not just what is now, but what might come into being. LeVar writes that he didn't find the superpower on his own. His mother, Irma Jean, was an avid reader. And she introduced him to the world of books when he was a really little kid. And in books, he says he found companionship and adventure and magic and inspiration. Even though books are just filled with words and pictures, they're also full of entire universes. And they helped him see the world as a place where he belonged. Just from books. Imagine that. Imagination is a tool for change. It's a machine we use to invent things. It's our creativity in action. And we can imagine ourselves in the past, in the present, in the future, and no other species on this planet can do that. Now, you might say, well, I don't have a very good imagination. That's not my strength. I'm one of those practical folks. But one of the best things about imagination is that all of us are using it all the time. It's kind of like a muscle, right? You're born with it, and as you use it, it gets stronger. Have you ever thought about what or who you might be when you finally grow up? Yeah, some of us are still thinking about that, right? Did you ever go to a movie and then pretend you were one of the characters afterwards? Have you ever considered, looking back on your life, how things might have been different if you'd made that other decision? All of those things involve your imagination. And in order to strengthen it, you strengthen your imagination by exploring, by thinking up bigger and brighter futures, by being curious about absolutely everything, by not accepting things exactly as they are, and trying to think about how they could be better. Ask that question. What if? Now, imagination's important. It's not a frill. Everything human beings have made is a product of imagination. Every movement that has changed our culture was started by a person who dared to dream about something different. Every invention, every great problem, shaped by imagination. When we don't use our imaginations, we actually limit the possibilities available in our world. So, now it's your turn to use your imagination. What if? What if we lived in a world that was fair for everyone? What would we be doing differently? What if prejudice or racism didn't exist? What's the first thing we might do to move toward that? What if everyone we cared about felt safe and loved? What if every kid felt like they belonged? What if everyone everywhere had what they needed to survive? What if? How do we imagine those futures and pull them into the present with small acts of imagining and acting? What if the future holds something incredibly wonderful? Just imagine. What if?
That is a tough act to follow.
You don't have advice.
I read a lot of science fiction, some alternate histories, and occasionally fantasies, literatures of the imagination. These stories transport me to imaginary worlds often vastly different from our own. The imagination that goes into them, inspiring my own, helped me get through difficult times when I was young. And this instilled in me the importance of imagination. And I'd like to share a few thoughts with you about this ability that we all have. I want to start with a little experiment. Close your eyes, if that's comfortable for you, and get comfortable in your seats. Now, I want you to imagine that you cannot imagine, that you have no imagination and no ability to imagine. In other words, I want you to imagine that you can't imagine that you can't imagine. Was it difficult? I know I had a hard time doing it. Imagination is a fundamental feature of our minds, at least as far as I can tell. We don't know if other non-human living things are able to imagine, although myself, I wouldn't be surprised if there were. What-ifs like this are the raw fuel for imaginative literature. These kinds of stories, where we powerfully and joyfully exercise our imaginations, enable us to resist, even defy, the lifelong pressures and admonishments and directives to suppress our imaginations. We're told to keep our feet on the ground, to get our heads out of the clouds, that this is how the world is, and there is no alternative, and things will never change. Imagination frees us, or can free us, from this kind of oppression, the oppression of this is the only way the world can be. And this freedom, I say, is every bit as important, vital, and precious as the freedom to worship as we choose, or the freedom of the press, or the freedom to peacefully assemble to petition our government for redress of wrongs. Now, one of my favorite television shows is a hybrid sci-fi western called Firefly, which some of you may know, which follows the adventures and misadventures of the crew of a tramp space vessel called Serenity as they try to make a living on the fringes of known space and the law. In the opening music, a song called the Ballad of Serenity Valley, the singer defiantly asserts that although the forces that viciously beset him may be able to take everything else from him, he is still free because they can't take the sky from him. I think of the sky as imagination. In the midst of terrible oppression and injustice, we can still imagine better times, better places, and better worlds for all of us. Physically imprisoned, we are still free to roam with our minds. The freedom to imagine something better is one of the driving forces in J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy, The Lord of the Rings, which some of you may also have heard of. Against the evil demigod Sauron, the humans, elves, dwarfs, hobbits, and all the other inhabitants of Middle-earth imagine a way to vanquish him once and for all by destroying his master ring, and muster the hope and resolve to do so. They imagine and strive to create a world free from terror and enslavement, a world where all can be free. Alternative histories, such as Stanley Kim Robinson's The Years of Rice and Salt, imagines what the present world might be like if the Black Death had completely depopulated the Europe. It reminds us that our world is not and never has been inevitable or destined or fated to be. Rather, our world grew out of and is sustained by the choices we made and continue to make within the limits set by the physical constraints of our universe. All roads do not lead to Rome. We have and have always had the ability to imagine and choose what road we follow or path to blaze. Just as the narrator in Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken, when faced with a choice of which of two roads to follow, we may take the one less traveled by and find that that has made all the difference. These stories powerfully remind us that there are alternatives to how we structure our societies and our cultures, how we compose our governments and conduct our politics. Nothing is graven in stone, immutable, untouchable, unquestionable, or sacred. Nothing was given by some deity or deities from on high that must be obeyed without question now and for all time. To the extent limited only by the physical constraints of our universe, our human world is our collective creation, one we can choose to change. Though most likely it would be a hard road to follow, muddy and rough, with trials and tribulations, we can still choose to change our world. Imagination gives us the ability to imagine different futures, to examine and work out the positives and negatives and neutralities of each. Imagination can map unknown territories, mark places to seek out and places to avoid. Here be a well of sweet water. Here be dragons. Imagination can be our guide when choosing what kinds of worlds we want to live in and strive to create, and what kind of worlds we should reject and strive against. Imagination, then, is our superpower, one we are all born with, one we freely used as children, one we have been encouraged or forced to channel into forms that don't challenge the way things are. One we must reclaim and exercise and strengthen and give agency to. This is my challenge to us, all of us. Dare to imagine against all the forces that demand we do not. Dare to dream of a better, more just world for all of us, just as Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. did. Dare to picture castles in the sky and work to build the foundations that connect them to the ground and make them real. Dare to imagine and use your imaginings to kindle and feed the fires of resolve and hope. May it be so. Now we're going to hear from a section of the Santa Fe Brass Quintet.
We use the solid substance of these four stones to serve as our collective foundation for imagining the world we desire and the future we work for. The mountain-shaped stone invites us to cast our felt sense memory of place back to the ancestral stewards of this land, to the Tewa speakers who called this place Okapoge that Spaniards recast as Santa Fe, and to imagine this meeting place cared for together by the humans who have come here, making our love manifest as we care for the land, for the air, and for the precious water. The geode calls us to a vision beyond the obvious jagged hardscape of conflict to another reality that cradles an inner beautiful geometry where we can imagine structures of peace emerging from our collective work, where sentient beings know war and strife only as a thing from their distant past, a failure of our imagination. The ancient fossil-laden stone helps us to imagine a world evolving in the midst of ongoing climate changes. We can see it to be a world where human participation contributes positively to the biosphere that is amazingly diverse and very alive. The fourth, a layered stone, proposes that we imagine the vein that appears to divide it is actually holding the sides together. Let's imagine a time when the differences between us are experienced as boundaries that allow us to connect with respect. Let us continue to hone and use democratic processes to support the choices we make. We lean into the solidity of these stones as we dream of and work for this future together in connection with others who also desire peace among us, peace between us, and peace within each of us.
So we set a time, most Sundays aside, to share the joys and concerns that we have amongst us. We know that joy shared can amplify and help bring us together, and sorrow shared can be made easier to bear. So, have here on the 26th, Kristen Jankowski is still in the hospital in Denver, waiting discharge to a rehab center, which should happen later this week. So let us all keep Kristen in our hearts. You may know her as one of the worker bees from the hot dog roast who was helping to serve and make sure everything went smoothly. We have a joy from Carolyn Hanna, remembering my mother, Doris Hall, who was born in July 26, 1912. She is my companion to this day, for which I am very grateful. One of the joys of being here at UU Santa Fe and in Santa Fe is that we get visitors from lots of different places. So if you're a visitor today, and if you feel brave enough, when I mention your name, you can put your hand up so we know who you are. If you don't be surprised that we try and seek you out anyway to say hello. So I will try to read your names correctly. I have a Carolyn Moore and an Alan McKenzie, both from Lubbock, Texas. That's where my brother went to Texas Tech University. A Linda Knight from Fresno, California. Welcome. A Lorenzo Bassman, also from Fresno, California. Welcome also. Let's see. I have here from Elizabeth Swope, please stop at the card writing table after the service to sign a sympathy card for our friend Sarah Manges and her family. Sarah's 29-year-old daughter, Haley, died in California following a mountaineering accident on June 30th. Our hearts go out to Sarah and her family. And birthdays, it says here. Celebrating birthdays this week, Dominique Mazaud, Alan Hill, Pat Simon, and Natalie DeVille all celebrate birthdays this week. Happy birthday to you all. And now, would you light one last candle for the joys or sorrows that we have, but are at this time too personal to share? Our hearts are with all of us in keeping these.
And now, if you would, Spirit of Life, number 123, but we don't have that book, so if you don't know it, hum along. And riding on the waves of the anthem that connects us each week, take a moment now, and if you're willing, let your eyes close or lower your gaze. Settle into stillness, into the stillness of your own experience, as Mike and I offer you a small exercise with some familiar elements in it. Join us. And let yourself breathe in and out as we begin.
Imagine there is no heaven.
It's easy if you try.
No hell below us. Above us, only sky.
Imagine there's no countries.
It isn't hard to do.
Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion, too.
Imagine all the people living life in peace.
Imagine no possessions. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man.
Imagine all the people sharing all the world.
I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. And now take a few more moments into the quiet. That's beautiful.
Our reading today is the poem Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul, that sings the tune without the words and never stops at all.
Hold on, Mike. There's another newer poem with hope being like an animal. So I'd like to, thank you. It's called Hope is Not a Bird, Emily. It's a sewer rat. Hope is not a thing with feathers that comes home to roost when you need it most. Hope is an ugly thing with teeth and claws, patchy fur that's seen some shit. It's what thrives in the discards and survives in the ugliest parts of our world, able to find a way to go on when nothing else can even find a way in. It's the gritty, nasty, little carrier of diseases such as optimism, persistence, perseverance, and joy, transmittable as it drags its tail across your path and bites you in the ass. Hope is not some delicate, beautiful bird, Emily. Emily. It's a lovely little sewer rat that snorts pesticides like they were lines of coke and still shows up on time to work the next day. That is by Caitlin Seda. So in working with Mike for this morning's conversation with you all, I must admit I didn't jump into this piece about hope. I have found hope to be somewhat troublesome. I don't know about you, from time to time. Not that I found myself without hope. Actually, to the contrary, I'm usually full of hope. And that on most days has me feeling, somewhat distant. No, actually, to be honest, somewhat foolish. As though I don't know what's happening in the world at this time. I often feel the eye rolling of my more cynical and cerebral tribe in a way like, oh, Leslie, you're such a Pollyanna kind of way, in a really hope sort of way. So for today, of course, I went for guidance on this. I began with my agreement to all that's been said before, that imagination gives birth to hope, provides, imagination does, the outlines of hope. And what beyond the polarities of Emily's feathered friend that we're familiar with and Caitlin's snorting sewer rat might I discover if I looked? So I realized that in the searches from Aristotle to Carl Sagan, from Barack Obama to Rebecca Solnit, that I had in some careless way shortchanged hope and those of us who are hopeful. I had been in my mind like apologizing for the seeming lack of sophistication that hope sort of indicates, that being hopeful in 2026 this summer might indicate. So let me ask you to walk with me in my little search about hope. I won't take you through the whole thing because it's pages and pages, but I've culled out some things. And maybe as you do this with me, roll around in the feeling and the movements of hope that you have experienced in your own awareness. So I went back to the bedrock definition of hope from Merriam-Webster. Hope as a noun is defined as desire accompanied by expectation of obtaining what is desired, or belief that it is obtainable. And in older usage, way back when sometime, probably before all of us here were around, hope was equated with trust. So I found that to be interesting. This is the place that gets me into trouble right away, because in Webster, hope seems like, to me, wishing, like a kind of pie in the sky. And when trust is shaken, or when you've never been able to build trust, what of hope? What happens? For me, Webster's way of seeing hope doesn't allow me to be engaged. It's something that I can wish for, and then I stop. It doesn't really seem sturdy enough, certainly not like the sewer rat, to withstand the realities of disappointment and betrayal. It is the thing that can use its feathers to fly away, leaving me hopeless. And I know that too many people have seemed to lose their feathery hopes, to have them fly away. They feel hopeless. Do you know people who are hopeless? Yeah. As though they need to wait until it returns to them without anything they can do to speed it up or to assure that it does actually at some point reappear. Kind of like having swallows return, right? Or here in Santa Fe in the late spring to find the hummingbirds coming up to your window, a sure sign that winter cold is over. That would be a sense that hope is returning, but I don't know. This sense of hope feels a little passive, just like waiting for the hummingbirds. And I feel no way to express my agency, no way to interact here. And in this, I'm helpless in my hopelessness. Oh dear, this is not the place I wanted to walk down. Hope in this perspective, kind of has me wary and guarded, like I should be careful. Can I even imagine something possible, let alone want it enough to make it happen? So I moved on from the dictionary, because that wasn't helping me at all. And I found, among others, Rebecca Solnit, who wants me and us to know this. It is important to say what hope is not. It is not the belief that everything was or will be fine. It's also not about a sunny, everything is getting better narrative, though she says it may be a counter to the everything is getting worse one. So this, what hope is not, that follows to me from kind of a too sweetie sweet thing that could happen without the vision of hope. The vision, the kind of thing that comes first as a wish. Like when we say, I hope that it all goes well with you on your exam tomorrow, which is really kind of saying, I wish it does. Or, I hope that the city council does everything that's good for all of us, which is also kind of a wish. So this is hope as a wish for something that we put out into the world as a good thing. Something that might happen when something else does something else. Again, for me, not very active. And Rebecca says, no, that's not the hope she means either. And then I hear of another kind of hope that sounds like this. I've even said these things, maybe you have too. I hope for your good health. It sounds sort of like a blessing, right? I hope for your good health. Which could alternately, have that be a blessing. Or I hope to see you soon, which might be like, I hope we do. Let's do that. It doesn't feel like we've got skin in the game, or I don't have it. I say these things as outcomes that rest with sort of like the stars aligning, or something happening that is not anything I can do about. Again, that's hope as a future project that maybe could come or should come. It still seems as if it is unsupportable. Aristotle is reported to have said, hope is a waking dream. And dreams are users of imagination. And sometimes they are sent from the gods, the Greeks thought. No, Solnit says, keep going, that's not the hope I meant either. So I don't mean the wish, and I don't mean the prayer. Hope, as I was reflecting, is not the result of good times. We don't hope in good times, if you've noticed. It cannot be, of course, because hope seems to have the element of change in it, a shift from what is to what could be, to what I can dream or imagine is possible. If all is going well, I don't actually need something else to happen, right? I kind of like what's going on because all is going well. So in that case, I don't need hope. Hope emerges from catastrophe, from disaster, rather like the light that shows up in the darkness and is outsized in its impact. Solnit says that her idea of hope takes into account, quote, the evidence that is all around us of tremendous suffering and destruction. She continues, quoting the Bulgarian writer Maria Popova, who says, critical thinking without hope is cynicism, but hope without critical thinking is naivete. We are then, in this view, to generate hope, not as optimism or naivete, but rather as holding a both-and complexity. We see what is now, and we see what could be. It's not passive. We have to engage in the seeing. we have to engage in the wanting, and we have to engage somewhat in doing. So, while I took a lot of paths tootling around about hope, my landing place for today was Barack Obama, who as a community organizer on Chicago's South Side brought me and us this insight. Hope is the thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. Let me just repeat that. Hope is the thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it, to work for it, and to fight for it. So I sit here with the fruits of my walk along the many possible canyons and ridges of hope. I'm still full of hope, but not at all smacked with the judgment that hope is one-sided or passive anymore, or unseeing of reality. I wandered with the insights of philosophers and theologians and mystics and scientists and poets and the writers on the human condition. Their words do acknowledge the complexity of all that is in these moments of a human experience and all that humans can imagine, and these align into broad and a diverse focus, producing, what Solnit calls that forward-directed energy called hope. So using that forward-directed energy that we can call hope, I'd like you to stand if you could, and we will sing number 1020. I want to let you know that I didn't know this, but Woyaya in the Ga language of Ghana means moving forward. So we'll sing this twice. We'll sing it twice if we can. Please. Okay. We'll follow along. Jim, it is yours.
I'm Jim Kramer, one of your board members, and I have a quick confession to make. My idea of a thrilling bedtime reading is to dig deeply into a 50-page statistical study. Well, this week, I had a study of congregational pledging by age cohort Wow. Doesn't everybody read statistical studies at night? No one. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. But given that, let me save you the eye strain and give you a short summary, minus the footnotes I might add. What we are celebrating here isn't asking for more. It's a celebration of what we already have, as opposed to hope. And how do we ensure that this spiritual home that means so much to many of us stays strong in the future? For generations, UU Santa Fe has flourished because of a steady, beautiful tradition and very faithful stewardship. Having sat on the committee, I can tell you deep from my heart that really is a thing. That people of the average age of this congregation, not the younger ones, but the average age, grew up with what we call a paradigm of duty, a steadfast belief that supporting your church is not an afterthought, it isn't a nice to have. At our family, it is one of those things every year that is non-negotiable commitment to the common good of all of this congregation. And it rates right up there with our food and our mortgage. A quiet baseline loyalty is the reason that our doors open and that they will stay open. And our sanctuary that we have here is the refuge it is today. It wasn't built on sporadic, from time to time, if I think about it, if I feel good this week, that I am going to give. We're looking ahead, and we also know life brings transitions. Sherry and I each had a health scare this week, right? And that is one of those things. And looking down the road, as health changes and family members and powers of attorney step in and start managing your late life financial affairs, regular pledges can drift or even get discontinued because of an administrative mistake. That's exactly why a group within our church takes a very proactive legacy and estate planning. It's one of the most powerful gifts that you can give. When you include UU Santa Fe in your estate plans, whether it's a small bequest or a simple beneficiary designation or an endowment gift, you're taking charge. You are pushing towards the hope for the future and what our denomination and this congregation specifically is bringing to the world. You guarantee that your values, your faith, and your commitment to this community can continue seamlessly long after logistics change hands. Stewardship is not about heavy burdens or guilt. It's filled with joy and vision and deep generosity, community care. And I want to personally thank you as part of the Stewardship Committee for your loyalty, your generosity, and for keeping a spiritual home from generations to come. The Permanent Endowment Committee does not normally get to come up and speak on Sundays. They are not the board, they are not the program committee, they are a separate standalone organization. I get my name called every Sunday for whatever reason, but I'm going to take my opportunity this Sunday to talk about the Permanent Endowment Committee. If you're here, raise your hand and just wave so people can see you. Holly, there's Holly, and there is Connie, and there's Gerald. Charles, wave remotely. You're on your PC, so wave remotely. This committee is set up to do another set of estate and life planning seminars later this year. And I'm going to talk about nothing about it today, but Sherry and I are going to go. We're making commitments to the committee that we're going to attend for the first time. So speak to Holly or Connie for details. Maybe you should go there too. Given that, let's collect our gifts and offerings.
Our words for extinguishing our chalice are from Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow. Go then, my friends, holding fast to your dreams, your imagination, and your hopes until we meet again.
And if you would, reach out and take hands with someone near you. And repeat after me. We'll see if I can remember all the words this week. May love and skill be in our hands.
May love and skill be in our hands.
May love and courage fill our hearts.
May love and courage fill our hearts.
May love and wisdom light our minds.
May love and wisdom light our minds.
May love flow through us and walk among us.
May love flow through us and walk among us.
As we live our lives and work to heal our world.
As we live our lives and work to heal our world.
Amen, shalom, namaste, blessed be. Assalamu alaikum, ashe, aho.
Aho.
Please turn and greet your neighbors and have a wonderful.
Thank you for joining us today, friends. We hope that you enjoyed today's service. Please take a little time and explore our website and visit our online welcome table if you'd like to know more about us. Otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday morning. Stay in touch and be well.